Matters Special is brought to you by Tom Thumb, the great big little convenience store, Tom Thumb, and the American Dairy Association, Minnesota Dairy Promotion Council.
As the parent of a teenager, who would you rather hear from in the middle of the night? The police department? The emergency room? The coroner? Or...
Mom, I'm at a party. Could you, come and get me?
When your kids aren't okay to drive, make it okay to call. This message brought to you by Tom Thumb.
Doing drugs is like being on top of the world. Everyone says so. Everyone seems to be having one dandy old time. Hey, it's part of growing up. Or is it? Just think about this. Before you go and do something you've never done before, you just better know what you're jumping into.
Along with special healthcare reports and an information hotline, Carol 11 News distributed breast cancer self-exam cards, and you responded.
I think the shower cards are an excellent idea.
They make women aware of breast cancer that might not know anything about it.
I think it'll increase awareness, definitely.
And the cards are still available at Target pharmacies while supplies last. Just call the Connection for your nearest location. Good healthcare matters, so pick up a card and take the test.
You never know. It could save your life.
Is that important for the average 12-year-old to know about?
Immigrants and faggots, they make no sense to me. They come to our country and think they'll do as they please. Like start some mini Iran or spread some disease. They talk so many damn ways, it's all Greek to me.
Does it help anyone in this country? That's my question. Is there any intrinsic good in it? Concerned with four main areas in rock music. Number one, we're concerned with the lyrics. Obviously, kids are listening to lyrics all the time. In fact, we understand that kids today listen to an average of 10,500 hours of rock music between grades 7 to 12. And that's almost as many hours as they spend in 12 years of classroom education. So this is this rock music can almost be a form of brainwashing. They're listening so often. And so we know it's a tremendously big impact on teenagers. That's not the question anymore, if it impacts them. The question is how it impacts them. So what kind of lyrics are they listening to?
I used to love her, yeah, but I had to kill her. I used to love her, yeah, but I had to kill her. I knew I'd miss her, so I had to keep her. She's buried right in my backyard.
Number two, we want to look at the lifestyles. We believe that all young people today are looking for role models. Sometimes they find it in a teacher or a pastor or a neighbor. But a lot of times these kids find it in Ozzy Osbourne or Axl Rose of Guns N' Roses. Where are their role models coming from, and what are those role models doing? When Prince gets up on stage and taunts his audience and throws these slurs at them, what's happening in the average 12 or 13-year-old mind? I really could care less what a 25-year-old person is listening to. What I'm concerned about is what an 8, 9, 10, 12, 14-year-old kid who hasn't formed his values, hasn't decided what his lifestyles or role model is going to be like, what is being pushed to him constantly through this music.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And it's nice.
What about the goals of the musicians? I don't have any problem with these guys going out there making a few $1 million. I believe in the free enterprise system. I believe they have that perfect right. But do they have a goal they're trying to push through that music that they aren't being upfront about?
2 Sparks, Nevada boys attempted suicide in December of 1985. Ray Belknap died instantly. James Vance lived long enough to tell what happened that night.
James Vance lived to tell us that what he did that night was compelled. Compelled by a power that he did not understand or appreciate. He knew that there was a connection to the Judas Priest music and to the stained class album that they had been listening to. The evidence will show that the subliminals in this case were a causative factor in the suicides of James Vance and Ray Belknap, as more specifically shown by James writing the after-the-fact letter in which he uses the word mesmerized. James' after-the-fact statements to Susan Rusk, a school counselor, before the lawsuit and 2 years before the subliminals were found, that Ray and James chanted, "Do it, do it, do it," before entering into the suicide pact. And that when James had second thoughts about pulling the trigger, and he testified he was compelled, he chanted, "Do it, do it, do it," before he did it.
Number four, the fourth area, are the graphics. What's happening in the graphics? What's happening on stage? This is Bill Lindsay of a group called Impaler. Here you see him hovering over this young woman, an arm there you can see sticking out. He's evidently killed this young woman, ripped her guts out. At the end of these concerts, he will actually throw her guts into the concert audience. And the album is entitled Rise of the Mutants. Does that reflect properly upon society? Do we think it's important to teach teenagers how to impale someone or kill someone or murder someone? When has it gone too far? President Bush wants to spend $9.2 billion eradicating drugs, and Ozzy is still singing pro-drug songs. I think his needs to go up in smoke first. Can we light this baby? Yeah.
Since 1979, Pastor Steve Peters has encouraged teens to burn records that contain lyrics about illicit or violent sex, drugs, suicide, or Satanism.
Our seminar is based upon the book entitled Why Not Rock?
In an effort to raise public awareness, Peters began the Truth About Rock ministry that enables him to tour the country from his home base in North St. Paul. He speaks to church, school, and parent organizations about the potential harmful effects of rock lyrics on our nation's children. His sermons begin with an elaborate slideshow depicting the graphics of rock and roll music and statistics about the hidden hazards. Many end with a record burning. Dr. William J. Cott at the University of Minnesota is one of 14 elected trustees of the American Medical Association.
The AMA has a great concern about the threat to the physical well-being and mental health of vulnerable adolescents with regard to this kind of music. It's the lyrics about which we are concerned. The lyrics that talk about the only way out is suicide. Those are pretty strong lines, and if the adolescents listen to that music over and over and over again, which is really part of our learning process, and then find themselves repeating those lines we have concerns that maybe they will act out those lines. Even if there is one child who commits suicide, we as society have committed a major wrong by not addressing this issue.
Music in this country is constitutionally protected, with the exception of some record industry volunteer labels that warn of explicit lyrics. There are no restrictions on music. Anyone can sing about anything, and anyone of any age can buy it. We sent a 13-year-old boy into 5 different record stores around the Twin Cities to buy albums. All of them carried warning labels.
As nasty as they want to be. Okay.
Go play it for your mom.
Okay.
9:57. You gotta eat it if your mom comes back in here bitching about it.
All right.
4 out of the 5 record stores sold those albums to a 13-year-old. The 5th did have a policy about 2 live crew.
Are you 18?
No.
You have to get 18 to buy it.
You do? Any of them?
Really just that one, that nasty one.
Which one is that?
Just because it was the one that like everyone got all scared about, even though they're all about the same.
However, the store did ultimately sell him Prince's Dirty Mind album. It's important to remember that none of these stores did anything illegal. Kids have always managed to get a hold of just about anything. The question still remains, how much danger are they in?
Rock and roll music lyrics have a tremendous impact on kids. I think what's interesting and what we're not completely sure of is just the ways in which they have that impact. And I think part of the problem is it's difficult to measure. There are a number of different sources of evidence for the fact that, among other things, violent and sexual lyrics have an impact on kids' behavior. We can sort of work backwards and say, well, what are kids like today? Adolescents account for a disproportionate number of assaults, including sexual assaults, of burglaries and robberies and things of that sort. So we know that, as best as we can tell, adolescents as a group engage in a lot of criminal behavior, much of which is violent, and that it does look like violent behavior is on the increase among all adolescents, not, for example, just inner-city adolescents. We know that rates of sexual assault are incredibly high. The evidence on date rape, acquaintance rape, is that that's a very, very common event for both, high school students and college-age people. And while we don't know for sure that it's increased, I think the best available evidence is that, in fact, it is increasing. And so we work backwards from these tremendous rates of violent, aggressive acts and these sexually violent acts, and we say, well, how could this have come about? And I think one of the things that certainly comes to mind and makes sense is that kids have been desensitized to what it means to be violent, to what it means to be sexually violent, and that one of the major influences on kids are the lyrics in the music that they listen to. I think that parents rarely know what their kids listen to or even watch on television. I think that, what we know is that parents and kids spend relatively little time together. And I think they spend even less time that's kind of aware or mindful time together. And certainly with the advent of Walkmans, I think it makes it real easy for kids to really keep that stuff quite to themselves. It's unlike the old days where there was, one stereo or one radio, and people shared that experience together and had to work out decisions about what to listen to and what was appropriate to listen to. Now, we've put these things in kids' hands and basically given them carte blanche to listen to whatever they want. People seem to be missing the the fact that most of this is violence directed towards women. And I think, well, if the music was about violence towards blacks or Jews or Catholics, would people have the same level of tolerance for this kind of message repeated over and over and over again in kids' ears? And I have to think that that's not the case. And so I think that for me, as a professional who very often deals with girls who already by adolescence have been victimized, often not once but many times, by males, that there is an incredible sexism that's tolerated, a misogyny that's tolerated in today's music, that is tolerated because it's mostly men making decisions about it being okay for other males to listen to this kind of music. The effects of media are subtle but powerful, and in such a way that the message that we may try and bring to our children through discussion may be overwhelmed by the impact of repeated listenings to certain kinds of lyrics and the impact of visual imagery.
I do coke so I can work longer, so I can earn more, so I can do more coke, so I can work longer, so I can earn more, so I can do more coke, so I can work longer, so I can earn more, so I can do more coke, so I can work longer.
Always chasing rainbows.
For the next 30 seconds, there will be nothing on television. No commercial, no nothing. So we suggest you use this time to simply reach over and give your child a hug. This message brought to you on behalf of kids by all the people at Tom Thumb.
You're looking at the average Minnesota woman. She spends 17 years of her life taking care of her kids and then squeezes in another 18 years of helping her elderly parents.
But where do I fit in?
Dealing with the daughter dilemma, tonight at 10.
She's been called one of the sexiest women in all of the James Bond films, but as far as the judge is concerned, she's a man. We've got the inside story on how a famous sex change has turned into a bizarre legal battle, only on Entertainment Tonight.
Thursday at 6:30 on KARE 11.
Making a simple phone call isn't always simple for the deaf and hearing impaired, but new technology and the DEAF relay service are making it easier.
Hi, I have a call for you from a hearing impaired caller.
Hi, Renee. It's great to talk to you.
A lot of good things are bringing the deaf and hearing communities closer together. Things like closed captioning on KARE 11 News. New Scribe 11 for the deaf and hearing impaired communities is funded in part by NSP.
The Constitution, which guarantees a person a right to think as they wish, to talk as they wish, to join any association they wish, to be of any religion they wish, and the government can't interfere in that. Free speech is fundamental.
This record store owner is being arrested for selling an obscene album.
Selling something obscene? I got another album right here on the counter. That's obscene. I got 2 albums over there, 3 albums over there. That's obscene because they're just as dirty and nasty as 2 Live Crew.
Free speech is fundamental. In order to destroy democracy, you must first destroy the right of freedom of speech freedom of expression, freedom of association.
Officer, what's the charge? What's the charge?
2 Live Crew was arrested for singing obscenities on stage.
So if we're going to preserve this fragile thing, which we have here called democracy, we must first maintain the freedom of the people, the individual freedom of people to speak and think and act as they wish.
What else will it be next? Next, you won't be able to sell Alice in Wonderland book in the store.
The thing about the campaign against 2 Live Crew is kind of interesting because we were all sold this anti-rock movement as something that was supposed to protect children. And that is, the case with 2 Live Crew has proven that that was not what the intention was. Because when you ban 2 Live Crew in Broward County, you're making it not available to adults.
And before you know it, you're not going to be able to go into a record shop, or you're not going to be able to go into a public library or an art gallery or a theatre and have a choice of the kind of types of art that you wish to enjoy and take part with. So it's a very, very dangerous situation.
Ice Cube will swarm on any in a blue uniform. Just 'cause I'm from the CPT, punk police are afraid of me, huh? A young nigga on the warpath, and when I finish, it's gonna be a bloodbath of cops dying in LA. Yo, Dre, I got something to say.
NWA is a well-known rap group. According to the group, they wrote a revenge fantasy about killing police officers. The FBI responded.
It violates the First Amendment for the government to try to suppress or intimidate anyone from selling constitutionally protected material. And what NWA is doing is certainly constitutionally protected. And, you know, the FBI should not be music critics.
Shouldn't the American public be able to go to the record store and take a look at the album cover and have a slight idea what's in there? If these guys want to be X-rated like 2 Live Crew, if they want to put the F word on their album 62 sometimes, if they want to do that, shouldn't they put that as a warning sticker? Shouldn't they put a label on there so the average parent can pick it up and say, hey, maybe I don't want my kid to listen to this?
I think the fact that you've already had it available and now you're taking it away is a threat. Anytime you start taking away what you already have, it becomes a threat. And labeling may not be so much the question as to where that will lead. Who is to say? Who's going to govern these labels? Is it a parents group that decides? I don't want someone else deciding what someone else can listen to. It's music. It's rock and roll. Or even if it's not rock and roll, it's music. And I hate to keep saying it, but where does it end?
This whole anti-rock movement has been very deceptive. The censors, you know, Tipper Gore, all these people, the Peters brothers with their bonfires are very deceptive. They keep claiming over and over like a broken record, this is not censorship, it is censorship. And they claim, oh, all we want is a warning sticker. Well, for one thing, they want a lot more than a warning sticker. And secondly, this is a lot more than a warning sticker. The PMRC and Tipper Gore and these bonfire guys, all these people claim this sticker is just consumer information. And they know it's a lot worse than that. They know what this sticker is really for. They want it to be the kiss of death for the music industry and to the artists. The music industry has recently decided to do a uniform sticker because of the, I'm using this word loosely, request of Tipper Gore and other powerful Washington wives. This parental advisory sticker, which is on the new NWA record. And this has become a lot more than just a little advisory. It's just come out today that there are now shopping mall landlords, real estate developers who are having put into their lease agreements with the record stores in the mall that if they sell these records, they will evict that record store. So these people want to get NWA, Guns N' Roses, and everybody out of the shopping malls. And it's very dangerous what this sticker is. And anyone who sells this to you as the sticker, as something that is just a consumer tool or just information and that's all it is either very ignorant or lying to you.
The whole thing about this wonderful document they have in America, the Constitution and the amendments, are such incredible pieces of human doctrine that they have to be protected in every way, shape and form possible. So although the Two Alive Crew was a First Amendment issue and ours was this whole area of subliminality.
On December 23, 1985, 18-year-old Ray Belknap and 20-year-old James Vance spent 6 hours listening to Judas Priest heavy metal music, drinking beer and smoking marijuana at Ray's home in Sparks, Nevada. Armed with a shotgun, they later headed for a local park. In an apparent suicide pact, Ray put the shotgun to his head first and pulled the trigger. He died instantly. James' attempt at suicide failed, leaving him horribly disfigured. He did die 3 years later of complications resulting from his self-inflicted injury. The families of both young men brought a civil suit against the group Judas Priest and CBS Records, alleging deliberate placement of subliminal messages in their songs. One of the messages being, "Do it, do it, do it." Trial testimony revealed a sad history of parental chemical and physical abuse in both families, long before the boys began listening to heavy metal music.
Let me try and put this in the way that they said it because it is quite remarkable. They allege that I took a blasphemous expression. I spoke that forwards, I recorded it, played it backwards. When it was played backwards, it made phonetic sense in a forward sense. So I then learned the forward expression backwards and sang it forwards, right? Now this is on the understanding that when you listen to this song, you hear the forward words, but your subconscious mind hears the backward subliminal masked message. This is what they were alleging. Now, does that make sense to you? The fact is that we came away having convinced the judge that we did not put these so-called subliminal messages on that particular record, Stained Class, and that this incident of two young men killing themselves had absolutely nothing at all to do with Judas Priest or Judas Priest's music.
I don't believe that music can create suicide. The research that I've done on suicide suggests that only particular individuals are at risk for suicide, those who are especially depressed and have drug or alcohol problems. And most teen suicides come from kids with one or both of those kinds of problems. So to begin with, when we talk about suicide, we're talking about kids who already have significant psychiatric disorders that are usually long-standing. And there really are few cases to the exception. Consequently, it's hard for me to believe that it's the rock and roll music that caused the depression or the substance abuse. And I don't believe that.
Record that's 10 years old and has gotten a lot of attention because of the case it was involved in. If you read the lyrics to that, that's actually an anti-suicide song. So I guess a friend of his had committed suicide, and it more or less points out it's not the only solution, but it's called Suicide Solution. So there again, here's old Ozzy, who's now, 50 years old, played in Black Sabbath in the 60s. I had dinner once with Ozzy Osbourne and a lot of the luminaries from the record company. He stood up, and once again, he admitted it was a marketing ploy. Ozzy said, quote, "I'm not the devil, I'm vaudeville." And the place went nuts. And he was laughing about it. But it sells. So he's going to go out there dressed like a devil, bite a head off a chocolate bat, and the crowd will go nuts, and they'll buy the next record. If it sells, do it. That's how record companies work. It's marketing. It's novel. It works. Sell it. New Kids on the Block, they're cute, the girls will love them. They do. Sell it. Believe me, if the marketing committee at the record company said, the little girls are getting tired of the new kids, they're too cute, why don't we have them do a song about the devil? If it worked, they'd do it. Money, money, money.
I'm really having a difficult time constantly being attacked as being a role model. People saying, look, you are the example to the youth. And that's not true. That's not true. We're simply here as entertainers and artists, and we communicate and we talk about different issues, but essentially we're out there to provide entertainment and enjoyment to people.
I cringe and I wring my hands and I say, why are they doing this? Why are they giving the censors, or the supposed or the would-be censors, ammunition? And I wish that the artists, in many cases, would take it upon themselves to be a little tastier, because they're just making it worse for themselves, and they're making it worse, quite frankly, for people like me who wish to defend their freedom to be dumb. But I still believe that everybody has the right to be dumb.
Lies beget lies. God, you sound like Mother. Well, she happens to be right. Lying is a vicious circle, and there's no way out except to tell the truth. It's not so easy this time, Maureen. If I tell you, it's just gonna make it bad.
1 out of every 5 people who try cocaine get hooked. But that's not your problem. Or is it?
They're the people you come home to. Friendly faces that always take you in.
Reaching out to the hands that will hold you. It's your family that picks you up again.
Family matters. People care. It's always good to know your family matters.
Isn't it nice to know that every day there's a special time
Hi, I'm Corbin Seitz.
And I'm Dawson Mays, and welcome
to get together, laugh, and share a smile? A time that's always best between friends. Dawson, Corbin, and you. Weekdays at 3 on KARE 11.
Big strong men, Uncle Sam needs your help again.
A lot of people don't like certain kinds of music, and they feel that either for racial reasons or for what it does to your body, the freedom that it possibly engenders, that it's going to do you some harm, or that it's something immoral about it in and of itself as a music. And that's nothing new with rock and roll. That goes back to jazz initially. When jazz first came out, there were people who were challenged by it and who loathed it and who hated it, and most importantly to this discussion, tried to put the clamp on it. Cole Porter wrote a song in the very early 1930s called Love for Sale.
Love for sale. Appetizing young love for sale.
It's about a hooker. And they, and the radio, the fledgling radio networks, they hadn't been around too long at that time, but they said, you're not going to play Love for Sale on our radio, boy. And now you can hear it on any radio station that plays that kind of music. Harold Arlen, who wrote Over the Rainbow, and wrote The Man That Got Away for Judy Garland, and a lot of wonderful, beautiful songs. I Got the World on a String, Sitting on a Rainbow. Also wrote Kicking the Gong Around.
He took her down to Chinatown. He showed her how to kick the gong around. Hi-de, 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 hi.
Kicking the gong around in the early 30s was a euphemism for smoking pot and doing drugs. And there exists on film Cab Calloway singing Kicking the Gong Around.
Hey, Muscle, you look almost human. You quit fighting?
Yes, Ham, I was running out of scar tissue.
Dean Martin, talk about lifestyles. People think of him nowadays as being not that great a force in the world of entertainment, but there was a time about 23, 24 years ago when he was on TV every week, put 3 movies out a year, and had every record he made was a hit. Even though it was the height of the Beatle era, Dean Martin was the highest paid and most popular performer in the world. This man virtually stood for chemical abuse. Nobody banned Dean Martin's records, and nobody goes, if you brought, I guarantee you that if you brought a Dean Martin record to one of these bonfires, you would be looked at rather quizzically. Or how about a performer, a musician who was stoned virtually every day of his life, who loved marijuana, lived by marijuana, and thought it a great solace and a great healing herb throughout his lifetime. Let's burn his records. Let's get all the Louis Armstrong records and let's take them out and torch them. Now that's not going to happen because, once again, the real agenda is not against the lifestyles or the spirituality, it's against the music. There's a Frank Sinatra song. It's on his album, his 1974 album. Some Nice Things I've Missed is the name of the album. And it's called Satisfy Me One More Time. This is the dirtiest song I ever heard in my life.
There's sugar oozing over from my elbows to my knees. So cover me with kisses, get yourself some calories.
It's probably not as, the choice of words is probably not quite as succinct as Two Live Crew, but the intent is there, and it's certainly, if it was sung by somebody of the rock and roll idiom or era, people would be jumping up and down and screaming about it. There's some really ludicrous examples. There was the Beatles, absolutely beautiful record that they made in 1967 called A Day in the Life, which is one of the classics of popular music of the last 30 years.
I read the news today, oh boy. 4,000 holes in Blackburn, Lancashire.
But they couldn't play it on the radio in England because there's a line in there about 4,000 holes in Blackburn, Lancashire, which was taken right out of a newspaper headline. In fact, I've seen reprints of the newspaper headline that inspired John Lennon to write that line. But in England, they decided that those 4,000 holes referred to a whole arm needle holes. Ban it. Censor it. To me, Madonna is, not stylistically, but her image and what she personifies. I'm reminded of a lady named Mae West.
You know, I always did like a man in a uniform. That one fits you grand.
About 50 years ago now, took this country by storm. She was immensely popular in the movies. Movies like She'd Done Him Wrong, and lines like, goodness, what lovely diamonds. Goodness had nothing to do with it, dearie. And things like that. Those are some of the tamer lines. There's the one about the gun in the pocket, too, that you probably can't go into right now. But Mae West said a lot of things on camera, on the radio, and a lot of people came down on Mae West, and pretty soon they censored Mae West. Something called the Hays Code was enforced that existed in the motion picture era at the time. And Mae West became a much tamer, a kinder and gentler Mae West. With hindsight, we see that Mae West was not a vulgar danger to the youth of our country. She was a charming, witty, talented humorist for her time. And once again, with hindsight, we can put her in perspective. But the ironic thing about it is, while we're looking back and saying how childish we were to make such a fuss about a harmless, witty, clever performer like Mae West. But in the meantime, here we are clamping down on a harmless, charming, witty, ribald performer like Madonna.
It's like Vincent Price. I was going to say I've never seen anyone accuse Vincent Price of being a devil worshiper because of what he does on stage, but they'll, all go and accuse Alice Cooper. I mean, it's a joke. People don't look at actors in TV shows and say this guy is playing the part of a bad guy, so he's promoting this, or this guy is playing, or Margaret Hamilton in The Wizard of Oz is playing the role of the Wicked Witch of the West. No one accused her of being a devil worshiper. So why is everybody going after Alice Cooper? It's absurd. The kids are not that stupid.
There was a time when we had a movie that I think it was still in black and white. It came to our town, The Birth of a Baby. It rocked the town, it shook it, it divided it, and it showed some rather harmless pictures of the birth of a baby that you see every day now. If you watch a doctor talk show or something, they'll be showing all that kind of stuff. But in our day, that shook us up. And a full house every night, too, in the little old theater.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm the man well, and it is. Come on, baby, like my fire. I just live the night out.
I think for the time, Mick Jagger and Jim Morrison were just as raunchy, just as dangerous as Axl Rose or any of the hard rockers out there right now. I think the more things change, the more things stay the same. Elvis Presley was a total threat to everyone when he came out. That's why he exploded. The Beatles were long-haired crazies from Liverpool. That's why they exploded. And the fact that the music was great didn't hurt either.
From rappers to Sinead O'Connor.
Hi, Richie. I really need to talk to you.
I got you covered.
Just a couple hits. Richie, I don't have any money. Please.
What are you, stupid? No money, no crack. You understand? To dissolve. Lose yourself.
Richie, come on. Don't leave, please.
Listen, shh. You're gonna get that little red-headed girl.
Charlotte?
Both of yous just gonna come over to my crib. Understand me? Then I'll take care of you.
If your kids miss the Tom Thumb Kids Days, you may never hear the end of it.
She's been called one of the sexiest women in all the James Bond movies, but she started out as a man. Get the inside story on Entertainment Tonight.
Thursday at 6:30 on KARE 11. For all of you who were busy bucking the establishment, and now are even busier establishing a buck, time is finally on your side. KARE 11 News and Weather on the hour. Every hour, 24 hours a day.
Minnesota's only real 24-hour news channel.
News and weather when you have time.
Newscribe 11, closed captioning for the hearing impaired, is funded in part by NSP. Community service is just one way you can count on NSP.
I actually got some lyrics here to a couple. Prince, you're probably familiar with him. He's one of the local.
He's my neighbor. My neighbor sings this stuff.
Incest is
I was thinking I'd be glad to meet him sometime, but I don't know if I would. This is not very nice.
You wonder if it's simply to make an impact or to make a statement. And I think there it raises some very important and provocative questions about how we as a society set limits on certain kinds of behavior, and whether, in effect, we are a society where everything is permissible and condoned, or whether or not we're a society that is willing to face up to the responsibility of making choices, even if it means conflict and disagreement about what those choices should be.
I think parents need to be aware, number one, what their kids are listening to. If a parent wants their kid to listen to songs pushing rebellion, violence, then I think that's their right. However, I think it's a parent's responsibilities to know what their kids are listening to, number one, and then to act on it, to do whatever they think is important. I believe a parent should be a parent these days.
I think if the parents quit being afraid of their kids and sit down and communicate with them, you know, they'll really find that the music is not a problem. I think it's very sad when parents want to blame their problems on a record.
Parents should become, first of all, aware of the problem, and then should make certain that they know what their children are listening to.
It's extremely important that this whole business of expressionism and being allowed to talk about, write about, make movies about, photograph, anything that you want, is let to go free and to run free, you know. So no, I think that the children, in terms of protection, should be protected by the parents, you know.
I care very deeply about what my child sees and what she hears. I care also very deeply about the fact that I'm going to do my level best to bring to her, if possible, the ability to make some decisions for herself and have her own value system.
I need to know what's going on with my children. I have that responsibility. And until they get to be, I don't know, if you can put a number age or a chronological age on that, but until a certain point when I'm ready to release them and release that responsibility for them, I will know, and I'll find out, and I'll have to monitor, and sometimes I'll have to control what they will listen to and what they won't listen to.
Parents, for whatever reason, and this is not to criticize parents, but just to recognize what the reality is, aren't able to provide what we would like them to provide. And that we can't confuse our wish, our social wish, that parents be in a position to provide guidance and education to their kids when that's just not the reality. And if that's not the reality, then I think it's time that we face up to that situation and begin to create other opportunities for kids to learn healthy behaviors. So we need to educate kids how to listen to music. We need to educate kids how to watch television. Okay? We need to do this in schools, and we need to do this in community programs.
I think, despite the fact that I have never before ruled that there should be any kind of censorship, that I would draw the line. I would draw the line on this. I would say, this goes, it has no redeeming value. Nothing improves in the culture. They can learn a lot of this stuff after they get married, you know, which they do. But it doesn't have any redeeming value. It's just rot. It's just, by anybody's standards, it has to be, have gone too far.
If our best efforts that try to account for and protect freedom of speech don't work, then are we justified in sort of abridging or limiting specifically adolescents and maybe even everybody's access to material because of the potential impact that it might have on society as a whole down the road as these adolescents mature. And I think that's a choice that society is faced with. If any of our less restrictive methods don't work and adolescents are still getting exposure to explicitly violent material, then maybe we as a society might need to bite the bullet and say, for the good of our society, we can't make this available. You know? Just like maybe we shouldn't make tobacco available or alcohol available. Again, I'm not saying we should do this, but I'm saying that's really the choice. I mean, at some point we need to balance the number, for example, of people who are killed by people who are impaired by substances with the value of having those substances available to the general population.
I say the government should never get in there, and yet when you look at this stuff, you say there's some area that the government must get in. But when you do it, you've got to be frightened, because each time a judge sits and decides a constitutional question, particularly as it applies to the First Amendment, the freedom of speech and association and religion, he has to remember he can hear thumping in the background, the hobnail boots, the Nazi troops marching, the suppression that comes with a dictatorship, and with it, before it almost, must come the censorship that makes way for a dictatorship.
After viewing shock rock, what do you think? Should some lyrics be outlawed? Is it up to the government, the record companies, or parents? Obscenity or freedom of speech? You decide.
Government of the people, for the people, by the people.
Earlier today, a Broward County appellate court judge has upheld the previous ruling to ban the sale of Miami rap group The Two Live Crew's double platinum album, Nasty as They Want to Be, in Broward County.
We think it's the banning of free speech. The First Amendment protects material, presumptively.
We don't talk about harassing and sexually brutalizing women in my music, man. We don't do that in my music, man. I'm tired of you saying that.
We've got white-collar people trying to crap our style, saying we're too nasty and we're too live. Corrupted politicians playing games, bringing us down to boost their fame. They must be joking, thinking we were poor, but they're like flies moving the wall. We stand tall from beginning to end, with help from fans and all our friends. Freedom of speech will never die. For us to have, our ancestors died. Don't keep thinking that we will quit. We'll always stand and never sit. We're too live, too black, too strong, doing the right thing and not the wrong. So listen up, y'all, to what we say. We won't be banned in the USA.
Luke's concerts are for adults. If it's an adult show, you have to be 18. Luke's concerts are for adults. If it's an adult show, you have to be 18. Our record is a year old, but with all the publicity, there's a lot of people, curiosity is aroused. We're selling records to a totally different audience. I took the precaution that nobody else has. I stickered my album, I made 2 versions, and I still got these clowns right up.
The First Amendment gave us freedom of speech. So what you're saying, it didn't include me? I like to party and have a good time. There's nothing but pleasure written in our rhyme. I know you don't think we'll ever quit. We got some people on our side that won't take your lip. We're gonna do all the things we wanna do. You can't stand to see a brother get as rich as you. This is the 90s and we're coming on strong, saying things and doing things that you're saying's wrong. Wising up, cause on election day, we'll see who's banned in the USA.
America, this is not China, this is not Russia, this is not the place where they brought down the wall, this is America. We have the right to say what we want to say, we have the right to do what we want to do, and what I do in my house, you might not do in your house. So what I do in my house is my business, and the simple fact of it all is that we are bonded by the First Amendment. We have the freedom of expression, we have the freedom of choice, and you, Chinese, black, green, purple,
do. You have the right to listen to whoever you want to, and even the 2 Live Crew.
This Family Matters special was brought to you by the American Dairy Association, Minnesota Dairy Promotion Council, and Tom Thumb, the great big little convenience store, Tom Thumb.
I'm Paul.